Welcome to our new video. In this video we are going to talk about Sony Xperia 1 Mark IV. So let's get started. This is Sony's new lead phone, the Xperia 1 Mark IV. It brings every one of the treats you'd anticipate from a very good quality 2022 phone, alongside a lot of restrictive Sony highlights too. The Xperia 1 Mark IV has an intimately acquainted tall, flat and slim design. It's basically the same as last year's model, however this time all the variety plans are matte. The matte dark completion looks pleasant, and it works really hard at concealing fingerprints and smears. Both the back panel and the aluminum outline are level, and they meet at a sharp edge that gives some additional hold. Like last year, the front is protected by break-safe Gorilla Glass Victus, and presently the back has Victus too, making the form a piece sturdier. Very much like previously, the new model is water-resistant, with both an IP65 and IP68 conformation. Another element that has returned is the unique finger impression peruser incorporated into the power button. However, it's bigger at this point. It's generally on and exceptionally quick. Furthermore, very much like on last year's Xperia Pro I, you get a devoted two-step camera shutter. The initial step is for center, and in the event that there's a human or creature subject, the phone will utilize eye self-adjust, consequently locking onto the subject's eye. The Xperia 1 Mark IV likewise has a couple old-school includes that you don't see on leads nowadays. There's micro SD expandable capacity, on top of the 256 or 512 GB worked in. The selfie camera sits in the top bezel, as opposed to in a pattern, and there's also a notification LED. What's more, to wrap things up, you get a customary 3.5mm jack for connecting earphones, as well. Other than the earphones, for your sound the Xperia 1 IV likewise offers a couple of full-stage, forward-looking sound system speakers. The speakers are marginally stronger than on last year's model, actually procuring a score of good in our loudness test. The sound, however, deeper and richer, with a perceptible lift in the bass. One cool feature is dynamic vibration. You can empower it close to the volume controls, and it permits the phone to vibrate alongside your media. We likewise need to make reference to this screen's incredible haptic feedback. It's truly exact, vibrating right on the spot that you touch. Discussing the screen, it's basically equivalent to a last year, a 6.5-inch OLED with a 120Hz refresh rate and an impressive 4K resolution. Despite the fact that this screen is identical specs-wise, Sony claims that it is more brighter this time. Around on the Mark III, the panel maximum brightness was different between the manual slider and auto mode, and you'd get different max brightness roofs relying upon your color profile. But, the Mark IV can give 600 nits greatest. In any case, the most we estimated was 680. All that could possibly be needed for good daylight neatness, yet a piece behind the opposition. The Xperia 1 Mark IV's panel is one of the most keen around. At 643 pixels per inch. The 4K resolution isn't generally dynamic, however the phone will fall back to a drawn-out full HD resolution for most everyday use to save energy, and the output is 4K for a restricted arrangement of errands like video playback. Let's touch upon the high refresh rate. If enable, the phone utilizes 120Hz more often than, it won't dial down to save energy. It will return to 60Hz just inside certain applications, or for video playback. There is support for high frame rate gaming. However, you can empower the 120Hz display for support titles through the game enhancer settings. You can likewise compel it to 120Hz on A for each game premise just certainly. Inside the game enhancer there's even a 240Hz choice, as well. That is the thing Sony calls blur reduction, and it utilizes outline interjection to diminish blur while utilizing the 120Hz mode. With regards to refresh rate on the Xperia 1 Mark IV, we experienced one irritating issue, assuming that the phone heats up. The 120Hz mode is very crippled, dropping you down to 60Hz and 60 FPS. This happened a couple of times to us even at room temperature, and it can require as long as 5 minutes to return to typical. This ties into the phone's thermal management. With its Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chipset, the Xperia 1 Mark IV has the most impressive Android hardware, but the performance is limited because it throttles quite heavily. After only 10 minutes of testing, the Xperia 1 Mark IV went down to around 65% of max CPU performance, and the GPU output was cut in half. Discussing the battery, the Xperia 1 Mark IV has a 5000 mAh capacity, 10% bigger than last year. And the battery duration is better too. It had the option to score a perseverance rating of 100 hours in our exclusive tests. This year Sony is following Samsung and Apple, and we don't get a charger in the box. There's support for 30 watts of USB power charging, and with such a connector we had the option to charge the phone from 0 to 47% in 30 minutes. The phone also support wireless charger up to 15 watts. The Xperia 1 Mark IV's triple camera arrangement is like the Mark III's. Last year you sorted 2 out amplification levels, and you again see 2 determinations here, at 3.5 times and 5.2 times. But on the other hand, there's persistent optical zoom for in the middle between. Likewise, all cameras currently support steady shot with flawless eye, that's improved low light performance. The 3 cameras on the back including a 12 megapixels main CMARA, the 12 megapixels fax, and a 12 MP ultra-wide camera. For selfies, the Xperia 1 Mark IV has another 12 megapixels front camera, which is even equipped for 4K video recording. We love the quality here. The subject is in every case all around uncovered in these selfies, with extraordinary detail and sharpness, low noise and spot-on color. The dynamic range is great, as well. Presently on to video recording. Each of the back cameras can shoot in 4K at up to 120 FPS. Film from the main camera is great, with enough detail and similar normal-looking version as the stills. The noise is very low, and there's respectable dynamic range in this way. That is the Sony Xperia 1 Mark IV. It's among the pricier cell phones you can purchase, however with the superior cost comes essentially every one of the feature you could need from a LED. This incorporates the 4K OLED screen, the great battery duration, and the supportive of a ranged camera unit. You even get retro features like expandable storage and an earphone jack. Yet, the most concerning issue here is that the performance throttles quite a bit, and this probably won't be the top decision for a heavy gamer. And, outside games, the choking is perceptible on screen as heat build up and that refresh rate dips to 60 Hz. With regards to cameras, having every one of these applications and options can be perfect for enthusiasts, but it's a piece confounded for your typical simple-to-use purchaser. What's more, in low light, you get a natural look here. Without night mode, the Xperia 1 Mark IV is most certainly worth suggesting. Thanks for watching and see you on the next one.